Okay, so welcome everyone to our seminar session today. And today we're going to be talking about faculty development, which is a major investment in your faculty and the resources that you have available. And today I am one of the speakers, and the other speaker is Dr. Dana Camery, who is going to be who you all know very well. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of introductions just in case, just a little brief, so you know that I am the Assistant Dean of Teaching, Learning, and Engagement, and I have been teaching online since 1998 and have in various capacities worked with faculty and mentored faculty in course design and delivery, and over the period of time have really had a lot of opportunity to really recognize the value of faculty development and an ongoing sustained endeavor, and really have enjoyed having that opportunity because it becomes a two-way street. I learn, they learn, and it really is mutually beneficial. So Dana is she's the director of technology, innovation, and innovative course design and technological infusion. I always had such a mouthful when I want to share that information. So in this instance, I'm just going to allow Dana just to give a brief overview of her experience. So Dana, you want to grab the mic?
Sure, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. So I started at Drexel University actually as a student. I was one of the first groups that went through our online RN to BSN program and then transitioned into master's. So I've been at Drexel for a while. Decided that I really wanted to work in an environment where I knew online was a priority, and I knew that the College of Nursing and Health Professions here at Drexel would be that space. Since coming on the faculty, I've gained more skill sets and insight into the online space. I do continuous professional development. As a matter of fact, the end of this week, I'm going to another virtual conference where we're going to talk about online pedagogy and online course development. So that never changes. As part of my role here at Drexel, I am a online university fellow, and our focus is a little bit different from my position at CNHP, where we are guiding quality throughout the whole university. And part of our presentation today, we'll talk a little bit about quality matters and that sort of structure. So I've been here now for 10 years. I'm going into my 11th year, and I'm excited to just keep innovating and working with people. The more I work with people, the more I learn. So that's how I structure my time and my professional development for myself.
Great, thank you very much. So today, I just want to go a brief overview because we're going to have a broad look at faculty development and its value to an organization, and the value of a multi-level approach in faculty development. And then we'll have an opportunity for Q&A and discussion. We want to spend about half an hour talking about the Drexel experience and more broadly about faculty development and opportunities and approaches. But we wanted to spend time talking about, what you currently have, where you see yourself going, what kinds of resources you would like to seek. Okay, so that's the plan for this session today. So let's talk a little bit about faculty development and why does it matter? Well, the best way, as Dana's title includes the word innovation, so the best way to promote innovation is to really invest in our faculty. And I think that's really important. Leadership does matter. Certainly having adequate staff matters. Investing in technology clearly is necessary, but faculty really remain your key element for success or perhaps failure in efforts to transform your educational programs and your institution. So it's becoming, and what most institutions are looking for is not just to be regionally relevant, but also globally and increasingly a digital economy. So having faculty that are ready for that is really going to poise the institution well for the future. So what's really important is you need to be not only retain faculty, you need to be able to recruit faculty. So the things that I put here on this scale, it's about having teaching technologies that are available to you, having faculty trainings, having a structured faculty onboarding, mentoring program, professional development plan, and more. So what does it take to do those things so that you retain your faculty? Because what happens is if your faculty are leaving, and not staying around, you have curricular stagnation. And that's really the critical factor and the brain drain that institutions are facing when they don't invest in the faculty.
And you'll find that too, as faculty feel that they're able to develop in whatever environment you create for them, they're more likely to stay than go somewhere else. And that word of mouth gets out to other faculty. So your faculty member will know other people, through their contacts that maybe would make a good faculty member, and they may be looking for the same thing again, an environment where they can innovate and create and be supported when they're doing that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dana. That really is very important. So what happens, of course, is that, that this investment pays off. Not only do you retain faculty are satisfied, they talk amongst themselves and share this wonderful experience that they have, that satisfying experience that they have as faculty. It is well documented that investing in faculty and having a coordinated systemic professional development plan for your faculty improves students' outcomes. It includes increased learning. Students will learn more when you have faculty who are skilled in providing effective instruction technologies, and they tend to develop important skills more easily, and they also complete their degrees, so you have increased graduation rates, increased retention of students, even though they may take some time to get through the program. Here at Drexel, we have students who take one course at a time, and so it takes years to get through, but the key is about retaining them. They have other demands on their lives. It's about creating an environment that's supportive and supports student learning. So faculty development requires a multi-level approach, and that's what I wanted to sort of start talking about. We're going to be talking about I'm going to be talking about the first two, which is departmental and the college and unit, and Dana will pick up on university-wide and professional community resources that support faculty development. So within Drexel University, generally the onboarding for new faculty, we do have a university-wide faculty orientation, which is very broad view as far as university and the university resources that are available. But we also have college-specific orientation. But what happens also with that is that there's a departmental component to it, because the nuances of a department and a discipline are very, they're very specific, so having an orientation to your unit and then having a college-wide supportive orientation, the structure that we have here at Drexel University not only has a 3-week orientation, but it also has a residency that's sustained over the period of a year, maybe longer, because the connections become very solid. But the idea is to connect with the new faculty on a consistent basis, monthly, to provide a little bit of training, a little bit of, discussion, Q&A, and something fun, Historically, CNHP, the College of Nursing and Health Professions, did their online teaching orientation as well in-house, because we were the largest college and university that was really in the online learning environment. We saw this as a need. But Dana will talk a little bit more about how this became now university-wide and is now something that the fellows take on. So, but I just wanted to let you know that sometimes you start within your unit to fill a gap for professional and faculty development so that you can keep, number one, give them the skills that they need, improve their satisfaction, as I mentioned before, but have them doing it the way you want them to do it. That's where the training comes in, because if you want to ensure quality, you need to be able to, or be committed to investing in ensuring that they have the information and the tools that they need.
Part of that, and I think part of what many of our faculty will tell us with the onboarding process, is that because they have that opportunity before they get into the weeds of teaching and their courses and their students, they have time to make connections with some of the people that they can get resources from when they need them. So at first, they may not understand fully and completely everything in that orientation, but as they move through, having those specific touch points, whether those are people or experiences like monthly experiences like the residency, can reassure them and give them a place to go when they do have questions as they start teaching, especially in that first year. Because that's a big disconnect. In our college, most of our faculty are practicing, right? They're practicing health professions in whatever profession they are, and teaching is vastly different from practice. So that really helps them, give them a support structure as well.
Exactly. That's often the phenomena that occurs, right? Thank you, Dana, is that you hire somebody who has expertise in the discipline. And many faculty here in the States, and I'm assuming it may be similar to what's happening in Cameroon as well, is that faculty are hired based on their expertise, and then they teach the way they learned, and that paradigm has shifted, as you well know. And so it requires that you have to sort of reframe your approach and try new things to be an effective educator. So thank you, Dana. Did I mention that our new faculty orientation is a 3-week intensive endeavor, half a day, 4 days a week, in where, as Dana touched on it, they're introduced to key people who are the experts in whether it's compliance or it's managing large classrooms or other things like that. So we have a full roster of topics and experts, the legal issues that we have in academia as well. So we have our lawyer come and talk to them. So it's really, again, it's based on what you find as critical information faculty need to have. So as I mentioned, we have the ongoing faculty development. What we have within College of Nursing and Health Professions is we want to keep giving information, but we don't want to have people be so overloaded that they will delete, because that's a delicate balance that you have. So we send out on a weekly basis teaching tips. Wait a minute, that's not it. That's the weekly sessions that we have. So on a weekly basis for 30 minutes every Wednesday, the same virtual link is available for faculty to drop in, and they are able to pick up a tip related to managing their online course, teaching technology, or any other technology or tip that will help them be more effective as an educator. These are recorded and they are added into our video library. In addition, as we identify problems, we had a conversation last week about how important communication is, and how getting information out, collecting ticket issues, when people are having problems and identifying patterns is so critical. So we use that opportunity when we see that there's a pattern, or perhaps maybe it was an outlier, but it's important information to know. We'll create a 5-minute tip on that topic and say, here's a just-in-time tip to help you be more effective or prevent a problem. So we create those are also added into our video library. The college has quarterly faculty development sessions that are half a day. For some groups, it's continuing education, they get credits for it. For others, it's professional development. And we value both. For licensing, often you need to have continuing education credits that are official. but for faculty promotion and faculty annual evaluations, the fact that you are demonstrating that you are you're constantly seeking faculty development and attending these sessions to build your skill sets, those are sufficient for documenting that you're doing those kinds of expected behaviors. And then at the college and the university too, but within the college, we offer our faculty a stipend and monies so that they can attend a conference for professional development. So it'll pay for, travel, registration, and the hotel accommodation. Currently, that's on hold, as we all know, that because of COVID, nothing's happening right now. But it can be used, monies can be used for attending trainings too. So for example, Dana, did you take advantage of the VoiceThread training? Or no?
I did. So, and there are free trainings as well. So some of the technology and some of the, just all the vast things that you can use for teaching, some of those things, they will give you some free faculty development. So for just a standard like VoiceThread, just learning how to use it, our IT department does a really nice job, but so does the actual company. So as faculty, I can reach out to different companies and they can give me some free access maybe to their technology tool to just look at it. Oftentimes other entities, other external stakeholders like drug companies or software companies or book publishers will give professional development webinars for particular things. I know there's just a new nursing curriculum book that came out, and that publisher gave a free webinar with the author of the book. So there's a lot of different opportunities that you don't always have to pay for. I did have some conference money. Actually, Fran, we both did. Our Teaching and Learning Center, which is on the university level, had an inaugural teaching academy, right? So from attending that free professional development series, we were also gifted some funds from the Teaching and Learning Center to be able to do things for teaching. So whether that was go to a conference, a virtual conference, obviously this year, or buy a teaching technology that maybe we were looking at, we had some funding for that. So there are opportunities, though not all of them cost a lot of money or any money at all.
And that's a good point that Dana just brought up. It's about incentives, so that if you have the capacity to incentivize some skill development, let's say, for example, your institution needs somebody who has a certain skill in online or in teaching, period, because again, it's about enhancing teaching skills and the quality of teaching, which is your big product. So having that be incentivized, so faculty will be, that's a reward. You want to reward people stepping forward and doing something. So thank you for bringing that up, Dana.
And just as administrators, it's really helpful to know what your faculty are interested in. So developing that relationship. So oftentimes I'll see opportunities in the different things that I get emailed or on social media, and I'll know, that a particular person might be interested in this thing because I know they teach in that, or they're working on a project, or they've talked about wanting to learn about that. So I may not use that personally because I'm not, I'm not there yet, but I would know someone else is. So having those conversations and meeting together as faculty virtually, getting to know people is really important, at least in my role, because then I can kind of crowd surf all of the great stuff that comes across our desk.
Exactly. And that's being the mutually supportive and collegial about sharing information. So I want to just briefly talk about this slide, and we talked about the video library that Dan and I are curating and creating. We also have one of the things that we did in response to the COVID and how everybody had to remove remotely is we developed a quick start for online teaching for our faculty, which was really, we're talking just in time, just quick, enough to help them get up and started. We continued to add to that. We also did it for our students because the face-to-face students also had a challenge when they moved remote. So we created course for them, which was served as a course, but also as a resource to go to afterwards as they needed information. We also have a Master Teacher Guild, which Dana is co-chair of, and that's where we've recruited faculty that have been identified as experts in teaching, whether in the face-to-face, hybrid, or online environment, to serve as peer reviewers. So faculty can request to have a peer review done of their course, observation of their teaching skills, and that way they would have a team of 3 come and observe and provide collegial feedback in how to enhance. Faculty have the opportunity to ask for particular help. Let's say, for example, they have a large classroom. They'd like to ask for the master teachers to focus on how they're managing the large classroom and give them some ideas about that. So it's all very collegial, not judgmental, and that's the environment that we attempted to create in with the Master Teachers Guild. And Dana's nodding. You have something to add?
Yeah, and it's really important too. A lot of faculty who would like to have their teaching peer reviewed want to know how that's going to look and how that's going to be reviewed. So we provide rubrics for all of our Master Teachers Guild members to be able to go in and do the observation based on that criteria. So I think it's really important for your faculty to know exactly what that observation entails, like what will we be looking at. And I really appreciate it when faculty do have a specific thing that they want us to key in on, to really look at and give them feedback on. Because we may be going down an entirely different path when we're in there doing that review. And that's really not what they wanted. They wanted us to, again, look at classroom management versus, how their classroom was set up or something like that. So it's really important for us to know specifically why, what is it that they're looking for. The Master Teachers Guild volunteers are very active faculty members who do a lot of professional development on their own so that they're ready to be able to give that kind of peer feedback and support.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and the Master Teacher Guild review requests are not just once and done. It's something that's encouraged to do on a regular basis so that you're continuously improving, and it's another metric to get to show that you're getting some feedback from a peer. You decided to do this, or maybe you didn't think that this was particularly helpful, but it's just really about being a reflective practitioner of teaching, and taking the feedback from multiple points to help improve. In addition, we have Dan and I are a dedicated office of teaching, learning, and engagement. And as Dana touched on, it's like we're kind of the conduit where people are talking to us and we pay attention to what they're talking about so that we can funnel things to them, or we can identify areas to create resources and make connections for faculty as a whole. So that's a role that we have within our office. We have Faculty Affairs Committee, which is active. We have self-governance of faculty, so faculty are very involved in meeting the needs of faculty and helping them with professional development. We have the Monday Messages, which has information about tech tips, resources that are available, just enough to give them a start on Monday so that they can follow up on things, some little reminders. And then the tech tips and bits, again, just-in-time training is very important. And we really want to make sure that we're providing information when people need it and have it available, because they may not need it now, but they may need it later on, so they have an easy resource to get to it. So we listen and we respond based on the needs of the week. And that's been very effective in helping improve morale and faculty satisfaction, which is the goal. And
because we're hearing a lot of, how did you guys know I was going to need that this week? Because like this week, we know people are grading and they're going to have to put grades into our central university location. So there's a way to do that. And people forget because they only do it once a term. So our video for that went out last week and they're like, how do you guys remember? How do you guys know what we need when we need it? So it's kind of interesting because we know the pace of the university and the pace of our particular courses, probably what faculty will need for that week. So.
exactly.
Doing
So,
okay.
yeah. So, and then one of the other things too, and you were introduced to the Quality Matters rubric, which is the approach that we use to ensure quality course design, which again is something that is research informed. And so what we did, even though our faculty know about it, not everyone has taken the training. And not everyone has taken advantage of having an internal QM review. So what we've been doing is chopping it up into bits and pushing that out in less than 6 minutes a week, a little piece of information that they can easily apply to their course now. And that's the way we're sort of leveraging, improving their understanding, but also improving the quality of their course, with which is of course our goal. As mentioned, the Monday messages, we also have, these are our strategies for making sure that we engage faculty and connect with them, make them realize that they have a learning community that's mutually supportive and very collegial. We have weekly informal sessions that are drop-in twice a week, so people can pop in and ask if there's, bring an issue to the group, or just, brainstorm with the group. So it's a very effective, well-attended, informal collaboration, and we have an open door policy. So now I'm going to turn it over to Dan. I know I've run over a little bit, but
That's okay. Before we move on to the university level resources, does anyone have any questions about what our internal structure looks like? If you do, please grab a mic or feel free to put any of your questions in the chat, and we'll keep an eye on that. Okay, so at the university level, Michael Shummet was here last week with everyone, and he's wonderful, and he heads up those ITG trainings and tutorials on the university level. Last week we mentioned that there is A to Z library of university resources, technology-based resources, and that link here in the slide would take you right to that A to Z area, so you can search alphabetically for certain things you need. So maybe you're looking at Top Hat resources, so you click on the T and it would take you to the list of all the T's. Now Turnitin would be there too, but if you can narrow it down, the list is pretty long. But they have both video-based instruction, which is recorded. They have live sessions, which before COVID, we could go into University City and take a training. Now everything's on Zoom, but they're continuing to do that every single month. They send out updates and information on the new courses that are coming through. We have the Office of Faculty Affairs, which is on the university level. So again, similar to our Faculty Affairs Committee within CNHP, they look at the needs of faculty, and that would be all faculty, full-time, part-time, online, adjunct, everyone. So the Office of Faculty Affairs works very closely with Faculty Senate to ensure that faculty are getting supports that they need and to process faculty development. Teaching and Learning Center is fairly new. We had some faculty teaching and learning when I first got here, but it was kind of, they didn't have a dedicated space. They didn't have a dedicated department. Now we have a teaching and learning center with a director and a co-director, and they have been able to leverage a bunch of different resources at the university level and provide robust faculty training and professional development. They also do a monthly book club now, and those books are focused on teaching pedagogy. We just read Minds Online, which is very interesting. And we have weekly conversations via Zoom, chapter after chapter, and we go in and we talk to each other about what we've read and what we're learning. And this is really exciting, sometimes we can even get the authors of the books to come. It's like a positive for COVID because people now know they can't fly everywhere to talk about their work, but they can Zoom in. So that was lovely. We had actually one of the authors attend in the last book club we had. The peer-to-peer network is kind of funny. So Fran said that in the beginning, CNHP had like a homegrown online onboarding course, basically how to teach online 101. And that grew in to a university-wide structure where we teach the essentials of online teaching. The peer-to-peer network that came from CNHP as well, that was in response to COVID and to having everyone shift to emergency remote. we created an internal structure for that at SaintHP where peers volunteered to support other peers that were struggling in specific areas that they had a really good knowledge base set. We were asked by the university to then scale that out and include volunteers as well as peers who needed help into that network. So Fran and I created that and we still manage that. It's really lovely structure where a peer can ask for help and they'll be partnered with another peer mentor, and that peer mentor will help them for a period of time. This is all automated, it's self-referred, and we assign then those peer mentors to the specific faculty member. And that's really been helpful, not only for the mentors, but the mentees. It's a very symbiotic relationship because our mentors are telling us they're learning a lot more about the university that they didn't know before, which is quite interesting. We have, you can go to the next slide, Fran. The Online Learning Council Fellows, we support the mission of online throughout the university. We serve as ambassadors for online quality, specifically through the Quality Matters rubric. Our Quality Matters course coordinator is a part of the fellows, and his name is John, and he serves to assign people into the Quality Matters website to do course reviews. We do internal course reviews and to teach the applying the Quality Matters rubric within Drexel University. So we now have three faculty fellows who are trained to do that. So we are trained as facilitators. Some of us are trained as facilitators up to the master's level, so master reviewer level. And we would not only review courses inside of Drexel for Quality Matters standards, but also outside. In fact, I just completed one this morning. So we can do internal reviews, we can do external reviews, we can just take the rubric and come alongside someone and help a faculty member who may be not ready to do that full Quality Matters review and give feedback, but help that faculty member to build their course or to revise that course while using the rubric side by side. And that's where I think our project with QM and BITS is so innovative, because faculty can watch short videos for about 5 minutes and understand one of the standards and understand it really well, and then take it and apply it to their course in real time. So it's structured so this isn't this big volume of work staring at you. If you're following along with our pacing, it would take less time to do it that way, little tiny bits at a time, right? And then you'll get done, right? Elements of Quality Matters, actually, that's an active link. So when you get the slide deck, you can click on that. That takes you to a Quality Matters free training that introduces individuals to the Quality Matters structure and gives you a little bit more detail than we're giving you here about the creation of Quality Matters, what it does, what it means, and how the whole process works, and a little bit more information about each one of the standards and how each one of those standards support online quality individually, but as a whole construct will support a quality course when built within that structure. That's it. Okay. External supports, we have a lot. And there are a lot of them free for anyone to use. All of these websites, right? The University Professional and Continuing Education Association and SITE and EDUCAUSE and the Faculty Focus, all of these are groups that support faculty, both face-to-face and online faculty, right? So when you think about structure in an online course, much of that, thinking just about structure and quality, transitions into a physical environment course. We think about student engagement. Are the students engaged with us? Are they engaged with each other? How are we engaging them with content during that time? And that's the basic premise of all of our structures in online as well. And all of you went through the foundations course, right, through that introduction to online teaching. So you know that's a primary focus, right, of everything that we do. So that's no different. You know, the environment doesn't matter. Those are the things we want for our students. That's going to help them to learn. The last two links at the bottom, and something that I do and I can do in my time when I'm driving in the car or getting a shower in the morning. On my phone, I put podcasts, educational podcasts specifically. 2 of them that I like, and I have about 8 that I listen to regularly, are Teaching in Higher Ed. That's hosted by Bonnie Stachowiak, and that talks about all things faculty, all different faculty concerns, from how to use a rubric to, how to get promoted, those type of things. So she has a lot of different guest speakers, and it's a really dynamic podcast, not very long, usually about a half an hour. The Topcast podcast is specific to online. We talk about a lot of online quality concerns, blended and hybrid concerns. They talked a lot over the last couple of months about structure and about the ways that in the United States, things are changing for engagement. So finding a couple good podcasts, and maybe you want to start with one of these two, just to listen to. And again, you can do it in your free time. Again, my free time is when I'm in the shower. So I'll put it on when I'm in the shower and listen. And sometimes that can be a little strange because I'm trying to remember things from the podcasts, and it's really hard to write in the shower on pencil and paper when your hand's wet. But those are two really good ones that I listen to.
And there's many more, and it really is about finding ones that really resonate with you and meet the needs that you have identified, and then it may be of value to when you've identified one that's particularly relevant to the experience at your academic institution that may contribute to improve, the quality initiative that you have at your institution. It may be something that you encourage faculty to sign up for, so that everybody's on the same page.
And many of those sessions will lead you into the next thing that you want to learn about or think about, right? So a podcast that I listened to led me to an author whose book I'm going to read this week. I started reading it. And I think it's going to be a helpful resource, not just for me and kind of reframing some of the structure and things I do, but also for my doctoral students as they work through their doctoral projects. So many of these podcasts will lead you to other things that will help you support either your infrastructure or your own practice or your students.
Excellent point. So one of the things that, oh, go ahead, Dana.
I was trying to take a drink. No, I thought this was me. So we've been checking in with our faculty. We ask them questions in the informal conversations thing. We ask them to email us. So our lines of communication, I think, are pretty wide open. We have people texting us. People are texting me today, right now, while I'm in the session with you. So it's really kind of interesting, but they see us as very open and very willing to communicate with them. So that's important to remember as you lead your teams, right? Guide your teams through this process, that they're going to need to know that they've got a touch point where they can ask questions that they're having in that real time. The survey was a little different. We did survey some of our faculty, and our faculty affairs committee is talking about surveying our faculty again, just to get a sense of what things they would like to learn more about, what are their needs, their professional development needs, and perhaps their promotion needs, so we can all move forward and be successful together.
Yeah, and what we do also university-wide though too is there's a regular checking the pulse, is what they call it, to reach out to both students and faculty about the experience and what can be done to improve it, soliciting that kind of feedback. So there's an openness to solicit that kind of information and feedback, and of course it's feedback and data that we receive that we endeavor to do something with. It's not just busy work that we're just making it seem like we're interested. There's actions that are taken as a result of the data, and I think that's very important. If you're asking faculty to take time to submit information to you, give you feedback, students alike, is that you need to circle back and say, based on what you said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to try this out, and we welcome your feedback on that. So that, again, that's about making sure that you're retaining your faculty and creating an environment that's supportive of the work that they're doing.
And it's about retaining your students too, right? Mm-hmm. So when you ask your students questions, like, how is the course going, or how are things in the program, you need to at least acknowledge that you heard what they said. Sometimes there's not much you can do about a particular issue that they have in the moment. Like right now with COVID, a lot of our students want to be back in the classroom. They want to be in the physical environment. And we would like to be able to do that, but at least acknowledging that we hear that and that we're making steps toward that is important, I think, for the students to understand that we do hear them. And same with faculty.
Yes, yes, very important.
Just show up. We show up. They were like, when do you sleep? We don't. No, that's a secret. No. But just showing up. So like even that every Tuesday, Friday informal conversation thing, people are so shocked. Like, you guys are here. And we're like, yeah, we said we would be. And then people just drop in. So it becomes like they know we'll be there if they need us, right? So when we're there, they show up, which is really interesting.
Mhm.
And then if you can only do one thing in your structure, think about how you can connect best with your team. There are a variety of ways that you can do that, and depending on your structure and how your internal workings in your department or in your university or your college work, but stay connected. Make sure that nobody feels like they're on their own, right? Because when they feel like they're on their own, they start to struggle, and then they start to question themselves, and then they get frustrated. We never want people to get to the level of frustration. I tell them, try once what you're trying to work through, try the second time, but before you try the third time, send me an email or Fran an email, send us a text message, reach out, throw the white flag, whatever, and let us know that you're struggling, and we may be able to help you, or at least help you work through whatever it is, the problem that you're having.
I think that that's a very important piece of it, is recognizing that again, there's a learning curve associated with managing a lot of the technology and a lot of the things that we're trying to do as educators in the environment that we're working in today, and recognizing and letting people know that it's okay to ask a question, and remember that their time is important, their time is valuable. So they shouldn't be working on trying to solve a problem for an extensive amount of time. They should reach out and ask for support. And there's no shame in asking for support and asking a question. I do it all the time,
So do I.
and I know that
Oh my
Dana
goodness.
does as well. So that piece right there, I think that that's very important, is to make sure people recognize that you're there to support them, and you want them to value their time. They don't need to carry the burden on their own, their shoulders themselves. So now we have, perfect. We have 15 minutes at least, even though we've provided a lot of information. We wanted to, open up a discussion on what kinds of things you're doing now. What kinds of things are you hoping to do, or would you like to do to, create an environment that supports faculty development, and that in a way you can invest in your faculty. So I'm going to stop the share so that we can see each other.
Well, I would say thank you for the presentation. I have been impressed, even though I had some internet issues, connectivity issues, and I went offline for some time. But as I'm listening to the both of you, I'm just smiling and asking myself many questions. I don't know if I'm about to answer the question you asked, or I'm going to pose another question, because when you mentioned how faculty development is very important especially in online learning, I'm just thinking about Cameroon. And I don't know if my other colleagues who are in this meeting right now can give me answers to my questions. Each time I hear about faculty development, especially in the health field, I see it most often occurring with health personnel who work in the hospital. For example, there is something, it's a new treatment for malaria, there is a new protocol and things like that. And you have them attending workshops and seminars. But I don't know, I don't think I have heard of faculty development or even seminars or workshops to teach the staff who are involved in schools, training the health personnel, anything like that for them. And equally, I'm imagining, it's a question you pose, but I'm also thinking, what can be strategies to make faculty interested in faculty development? Because as far as I know, in Cameroon, it's not a requirement for practice. So I'm really thinking of a way or something that can motivate them to think that, okay, yes, I want to learn and acquire more knowledge and skills in what I do every day. I'm sorry to say this, most often what we see is people are interested in attending these seminars because they'll be paid, maybe transportation fee, maybe, and things like that. I'm just imagining what can be something that can actually motivate them to let their main focus be acquiring skills and knowledge, not just earning some 10,000 francs, 50,000 francs from attending the seminar. So like I said before, it's a question you pose, but I'm just imagining now. I think that if we have an institution or a system that places importance or values on faculty development, maybe many of us will be forced or pushed to develop our skills. I mean, not thinking all about the financial aspect of it, but thinking of how we are going to grow from what we are now. So that's what I have in mind so far. I don't know.
Niente, that's an excellent point, you know, and then we struggled with that too, as far as getting faculty to want to make an effort, you know, and not just sit back and relax, you know, they have their position. So it becomes, it should be a multifaceted approach. One is, of course, that it's linked with evaluations and it's connected to promotions. You know, we have a tiered approach with our faculty. They come in as an assistant. Sometimes they come in as instructor, which is lower than an assistant professor. But then we go from assistant to associate to full professor. And, you know, and we have criteria that are, one of the major things is when they show that they are qualified, should be promoted, is one of the things they have to demonstrate teaching excellence. And at each level, it's a different level of teaching excellence that needs to be presented. And so it's being invited to presentations. It's contributing to the curriculum beyond teaching your class. It's more than that. It's working with the team to be innovative in the curriculum, to giving back, you know, as far as the teaching excellence within your organization. So having that kind of influence, so it really ramps up the qualifications before you can become a full professor. And that's an incentive, because again, with that comes a pay raise, of course, so that's an investment too. And you know, so Madame, are you listening? I hear but that really is something to consider. So it's that. But then it also becomes a cultural shift where it's about, you know, earning the respect of your colleagues, being part of your colleagues, you know, and that whole vision and mission of what you're doing together. So we've had that within our college that, you know, that really shift. Not everybody's on board. I will be frank, not everybody in our faculty is on board, but we've been building momentum and moving in that direction. Does anybody else have any thoughts on that would like to chime in?
I just want to build off of some comment that you made about the education, right, in the clinical environment, right? So you said that's where a lot of focus is, right? And that's where people, you've seen that focus. You may want to take that and use that as part of the incentive to get some professional development as faculty, because the individuals in practice are not learning, they're just not learning it because it's there, it's on a PowerPoint or whatever. There's some craft to delivering that information so that the learners can take it in, right? So if you build it in that way, and I think give faculty manageable pieces of professional development, something that they know they can do and use today or tomorrow in their classroom, right? You have a specific want or need for that professional development. I don't think those big bucketed professional development experiences really always work. You go to a conference, there's all this information and all this great stuff. And then you have to kind of sort through it, figure out what's going to work. Is this going to transfer into my environment? Really, is this going to work? And then by the time you get back home, you're like, whatever. So if you make it very specific at first, and faculty can see where they're getting better results in their classroom, their students are doing better, they're performing better, their grading isn't as arduous, right? Because you've used some professional development key principle with your students and it's working, they're going to be more likely to come back and try something else, right? As part of that structure, though, and asking them to try this new thing, this one new thing that you're asking them to do, you've got to be ready for them to fail, right? Because not everything works. Trust me on this. I did a whole presentation about things that didn't work and why they didn't work, and they'd worked for other people and it didn't work for me, but it was a different context and a different environment and different students. So you can change things, but they have to also be able to fail. And I think that's important. That needs to be in the culture as well. It's okay to try something and have it not work.
There's some literature on that. I'm so glad you brought that up, Dana. There is literature on encouraging innovation and also encouraging the risk of failure, and accepting that, because without failure, you're not going to, taking risks, the risk to fail, you're not going to move the needle forward, so that there's a lot about that and creating, and people, that's the other thing too, is that even with our Master Teachers Guild, and faculty coming out and asking for peers, their colleagues, to come into their classroom and judge them, which that's very scary, so we're trying to shift that paradigm, and we have, faculty are embracing it, but it took a while to encourage people to to get them to understand this is collegial. We're not evaluating you and then it's going to be a demerit. We're coming in as your partners to help you, and shifting that so the faculty aren't afraid of being what they perceive as being judged.
And Ray made a really good point. And Ray, if you want to speak to this, please grab your microphone. About COVID, right? COVID is a major disruption. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say that in response to Nancy's question about what is the need to, motivate schools in Cameroon and probably other African countries to, engage faculty members to take online training or learning seriously. I think COVID has come. It's an eye-opener. It's no longer, you're not sure again to tell somebody, I'm going to have a face-to-face class with students. So I think that bearing that in mind is already motivation enough for every other school owner, proprietor, governments, institutions, partners to put a lot of resources towards online training, because I think that is the way the world is going now. And also another aspect of it is that it's, to me, makes studies much more interesting, because the initial part of studies used to just be probably a face-to-face exchange between maybe the teacher or the lecturer, the students. But today it's now possible to even take classes online and exchange with other people online. To me, makes the whole experience worthwhile. So I think that in response to that, COVID is a big motivation. And then wanting to also learn new things is a motivation to be able to know you could deliver a lecture, a complete lecture without necessarily going to class is also all the more good. So I think that's my own contribution. Thank you.
Excellent. It's a major disruptor. We've disrupted everything and everyone is trying to figure it out. So there's more space now, I think, for trying and failing than there ever was before.
Go ahead, Mabo.
Okay, I should say thank you for the presentation and the coordination within the presentation. It was really impressive. I would want to add from the system, speaking from my experience at BUIB, when we created a dedicated unit for staff development, what we did was to include staff members who were interested in the concept to manage that unit or to be part of that unit. But I think that one of the biggest challenges we faced was the workload. We had those people interested in being part of a staff development unit, but at the same time, we didn't give them enough support in the sense that we didn't reduce their workload to allow them to actually run that unit and be really available, because as you say, 80% of our success is related to just showing up. And I have seen that working with Friend this past months. She's always there. And she makes me to be on my feet too, because when she shoots out an email or shoots out a request, I have to get up and be on it, be on it at the same time. So I think that getting people to start a staff development unit and giving them the amount of workload that allows them to man that unit would be a good starting point for most institutions. And then the nice thing is that in this platform, we have many private institutions, and they don't have to depend on the government for certain things. So they can always take the small first steps to create their own staff development unit and look for local incentives within their system to keep that unit going and to keep faculty using that unit. So it's a small first step. For bigger things to happen, of course, we need the government to come in. Then I also think that in the third place, we need confidence building measures between administrators and faculty. One of the things that happens in Cameroon is there is a lot of mistrust between administrators and faculty. How does this present or manifest? You will find administrators who have been supportive of staff development efforts in the past. And at the time when they think that this staff should deploy their new skills and knowledge into the system, this staff leave and go for some maybe better opportunity or something. So that affects
Bottom line.
Yes. And then we also have it the other way. We also have faculty who have developed themselves, who have taken the initiative to work on their own, acquired some skills, and are deploying it into the system and don't receive recognition or motivation for it. So thinking about a strategy that starts building confidence, maybe as part of the strategic plan within every institution, to make the faculty know that, okay, if you do A, we will do B as administrators. It can actually help us in this endeavor. Thank you.
Excellent point. I'm so glad you brought up the faculty workload, and also, you know, it is important to put in place efforts to retain your faculty. If you're investing in developing them, providing opportunities for them to hone their skills, you definitely want to make sure that they stay with you, you know, but that is what's going to happen. As Ray was talking about how the shift is happening, you know, as the educational paradigm is going to change and they're going to be seeking faculty who have those skills, they're going to be recruited heavily from other institutions. So you're going to have to ramp up. Your organization will have to ramp up their efforts to retain. What we have at Drexel is, you know, there's really three things that the faculty are responsible for doing, you know, teaching, service, and scholarship. Those are the three main areas. Some have administrative responsibilities and other, but, you know, if you're only teaching, then you have a full teaching load, if that's your only responsibility, but you're still expected to do service and scholarship, but you have that full load. But if you're taking on, you're giving them something else to do. Maybe they have to manage a program. Maybe they have to do faculty development. Then a percentage of that moves over to that role. And as a result, it's taken away from the teaching role. So they teach less, you know, so that's, you know, my role right now is I teach 9 credits. Faculty normally teach 36, you know, and so I teach 9 credits, plus I'm released from everything else to do the work that I do, you know, so that values, you know, what the faculty member is contributing to the academic organization, you know, and that's something that needs to be considered when you create an environment that supports faculty and retains them. Is there's only 24 hours in a day, and faculty must sleep. I know, Mabel, you don't think I do, but I do. You know, faculty must sleep, and they must have time to recharge and spend time with their family and do, you know, the other things, you know, so that it has to be a work-life balance. Any final comments? I know we have some chats in here in the text, but we are out of time. We're past our hour, but this is an excellent opportunity for us to continue the discussion beyond in the discussion forum. So I really would love to continue this, to talk about ideas. I know that perhaps even a collaboration. Madame suggested make a proposal to the government for faculty development enhancements. So maybe there might be some funding that could be a collective. I know you've seen me mention the word collective and consortium throughout. I think that, you know, pooling these kinds of resources could really be value added and you know, again, move things forward, you know, in this environment.
Right, and you could really show an impact, right? When you do that, you would ask for funding and support, and then create that structure so that they can actually see the impact of the program that you're asking them to support. So that could, I mean, that's what we did. You know, they were questioning at first, did they really need us doing the jobs we did? And then COVID, surprise, they really need us. And we hear that all the time, you know, like we are so glad that we have our department, you know, within CNHP and university wide. So I think if you do figure out what's the most important thing for the most of your faculty and start with that, but one thing, start small, and it will start to scale out if you support it with the culture. Absolutely.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. And I look forward to a very robust discussion in our discussion forum this week. Okay, all right.
Thanks, everyone. Have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
evening. Bye-bye.